If they're gonna step off Twitter, they just help to make Twitter a better place. Howdy folks, I'm Alfonzo with my buddy Bill Whittle, and oh no, Bill, man, I hear that Jack White and what's his name, Trent Reznor, they're leaving the Twitter, man. I guess, you know, because it's being occupied by a bunch of fascists. And now this is, folks, I'm trying to tell you, this is why we do the virtue signal, because we got perverts out there trying to be, position themselves as the virtuous ones and their virtual signaling and stuff like that. And we have to, you know, we got to set the record straight. Bill is, are you going to be able to recover, man? Or are you going to be all right, man? That Jack White, the leader of, the lead singer of the White Stripes, and I guess some other projects that he has, and Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, that, you know, Twitter, we're a bunch of fascists and they're out. You gonna be all right?
Yeah, I haven't heard of the first guy. I actually liked Nine Inch Nails, although it was very dark music. Yeah, I'll find a way to survive. Interesting, isn't it? That the reason that the people that are leaving Twitter now are leaving Twitter because people get to say what they want to say without being censored. And as they go out the door, they're calling the people who are overjoyed for free speech fascists. You know, it's the fascists who try to control information and all of the information pathways to make sure that nobody hears any message other than the fascist message. It's the fascists that are leaving Twitter, not the ones that are arriving.
Yes.
Right? If you are making the case for freedom of speech and that causes you to run, then that's because you are a fascist. You are a person who is not able to survive either intellectually or emotionally or spiritually in the free exchange of ideas. And you're heartbroken that your former monopoly on making sure that everybody says something that agrees with you has now been broken. So yeah, if you can't handle free speech and you are leaving because you didn't get to have a situation where everybody's telling you what you already believe, you're the fascist. I just hope that, you know, if these two guys say they're going to leave America and go to Canada or England, that's when I'll begin to weep.
Yeah, it's like actually, you know, I mean, you know, maybe leaving Twitter, that'd be easy. All these people make these threats about like leaving. They never leave.
They never leave.
They never leave. Or it's like, if Elon Musk does this, I'm gonna leave Twitter, and then they stay on Twitter to still gripe about some other stuff and just keep moving apart. That's what they are. They're goalpost movers, man.
Yeah, don't let the door hit you on the butt on the way out.
Right? Actually, let it beat them all up in the behind on the way out. That's what I'd like to see. But I mean, they even get to control the narrative on what fascism is. And you know, like, say for instance, man, you go on any of the search engines and right off the bat, it'll pull up, you know, their definition of fascism. And
Sure.
it'll think like fascism is a right-wing ideology. It's like there's nothing about fascism that's right-wing. You know, just the same way as they try to talk about like we gerrymander things. It's like, no, man, the biggest offenders of gerrymandering stuff is y'all. You guys have shifted everything in your favor, from the education to the radio to the internet. You know, whatever you want to be able to look up, it's always gerrymandered in your favor about what people are going to see first. And their fascism, their actual fascism takes on all kinds, man. They've made this move to impose their ideas onto us. And only because we say, hey, man, you can't do that. You're a fascist. Why? Because we told you no? You know? Am I missing something?
No, and it brings to mind something that I used to talk about when I was doing public speaking quite a while ago, when it first really began to dawn on me how much control the social media of the left was taking over. And what it comes down to is conservatives are just much more intellectually and probably emotionally fit, right? When they're having their freak out moment because it's possible if they'd stayed, they could have heard something they disagree with. But conservatives hear stuff we disagree with every day.
Mm-hmm.
When all of the media and all of the social media and all of the stuff is leaning hard left, if you're a conservative, it's not like I don't know what they're talking about and I don't want to hear it. I hear it all the time. People I love in movies. Oh, that's one of my favorite. Oh, well, he was one of my favorite actors until, you know. until he comes out and says this ridiculous thing. So they're not fit. They're like a log that just floats downstream. Everything's going their way. They hear what they want to hear and everything. If you're going to be a conservative in a liberal culture, you got to be a salmon. You got to be swimming upstream the whole time, and that makes you extraordinarily fit. And they're not fit, and that's why I think they're leaving. Some of it is cognitive dissonance. You know, they hear something that's clearly true that is antithetical to what they believe, and now they have to sort that out. But frankly, I think it's much more simple than that. It's just a temper tantrum at not having their way.
Definitely, man. And, you know, that's an interesting word that you chose, man, fit, because these are people who tend to like lean on the survival of the fittest narrative, and they're not even fit for Twitter. They got to get off Twitter. And man, none of their
too stressful.
None of their ideas, and their standards do they live up to. They say coexist. But you can't coexist with us on Twitter. You can't tolerate us. You know, you can't accept us. And you know, and Jack White, you know, I'm not making a judgment here. I'm just calling him out for his hypocrisy. It's like he's been like married like 3 times. You know, it's like, so you couldn't tolerate and you couldn't exist with your first wife. You couldn't tolerate and coexist with your second wife. You know, and here it is. You're showing your pattern of that you can't tolerate and it coexists with people, but you're calling us the fascists and the bigots and the haters and all that sort of stuff. You know, it just like you said, man, they're not fit, not even to their own narrative.
Yeah, Jack, you know, maybe it's not your 3 wives. Maybe it's you.
It might be. It might be. And then there's, you know, Trent Reznor. His hit song was Closer, right? And that song's got a great beat. It's got a great vibe. The lyrics of it, however, are disgusting. But
they're horrible, yeah. Hit like a whole same thing.
Right. You know, so it's like, okay, so how is it that Trent can make a song that's his hit song, basically saying you let me violate you, you let me complicate you, you let me desecrate you. I want to F you like an animal, right? Mm-hmm. Now, basically, this is Trent in this elitist form saying you're an animal to me. And that's what gets me off. That's what turns me on. Not that you're a person. You're not someone that I want to have intercourse with as a human being. I want to do you like an animal, right? And then he says, this gets me closer to God. So it's a religious experience for you, Trent.
It's Satanism, dude. It's just outright Satanism. It's all it is.
It's right? A religion. Yeah. Yes, it is a religion. But this person gets to qualify as the woke people. This is total disrespect to women. Total disrespect. Now, the hypocrisy, man, it just jumps off. It just jumps out the pot. And, but these people are the ones who are going to call us fascists and teach us how to be tolerant and respectful to other people. And again, Bill, what am I missing?
Well, I mean, Harvey Weinstein was one of the biggest donors, not only to the Democratic Party, but he donated a lot of money to, you know, women's issues, right? While he was essentially certainly molesting them, and you could probably make the case raping them. So part of that is the practical aspect of covering your own tracks. But more, you know, so so Harvey Weinstein is doing these horrible things with women. No, it can't be Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein just gave, you know, $500,000 to, you know, this women's group or something. So there's that. And then there's also the internal aspects of well, to the degree that there are any internal aspects of what Harvey Weinstein is doing. Some of that is assuaging his own guilt. It's his own, you know, I'm sure he's got it worked out in his mind. You know, look, one of the great murders of history was a Soviet police chief named Lavrentiy Beria. And he used to cruise the streets of Moscow before the war in the back of a black limousine. And he would just see somebody that he thought that he liked. And it didn't matter if she was married. These 2 guys would get out, they'd get in the car and drive out to his dacha. He would say to them, scream or don't scream, it doesn't matter to me, no one will hear you. And after he'd finished raping these women, he would have his security guys present them with a bouquet of flowers. You see, that's his way of saying it was consensual. That's his internal justification for it. So all of this with these people are Evan Sayed's really all over this. He really understands this. Essentially, modern progressivism, modern liberalism is not libertarianism, it's libertinism, right? All they want, Zoe, is to do whatever they want all the time without consequences and with your vocal approval. Sure. And when Twitter opens up to conservatives and criticism of that, then they have to face the fact that, that Jiminy Cricket voice is coming up. I got popular in my final year in high school because I was an engineering science geek for, all of my public school career, except for my senior year when suddenly I'm a movie maker, filmmaker. Now I'm getting invited to parties I didn't get invited to. And at one of these parties, it was 1977 and we were seniors in high school and somebody was going to pull out a doobie, and they're going to smoke some marijuana. Oh my God. And they went around the room passing this joint and they passed it to me. And I said, no, thanks. I didn't make any comments about it. I didn't make any judgments about it. I just said, no, thanks. And when I said, no, thanks, everybody in the room suddenly heard that Jiminy Cricket voice, right? And the second I said, no, thanks, then they began to really put the screws on, Oh, why not? And the more they put the screws on, the more, I decided I'm just going to make a stand here. And so if you have an entire den or cave full of sinners, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody can be sinning and everybody's okay with it. But if you've got a cave full of sinners and you've got one person who's not sinning, that person has to go because they are harshing the mellow of everybody else in there, right? Because they're providing the living example that this is not something you have to do. This is a choice you're making, and it's possible to make a different choice. And then all of the moral implications happen. But if that person would just go away, then I don't have to deal with this issue.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the nature of people. It's like we have to have like accomplices into the knuckleheaded stuff that we want to do. You got to go.
Yeah, social proof. We have to have social proof that all of the perverse things that I'm doing are being done by other people, and they don't have a problem with it. So I shouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how uptight these people can get too. Man, I remember, being offered some of the marijuana, and I was like, no, and this person got mad, and they're like,
yeah, they get mad,
and then started accusing me of telling me that I'm too uptight and I need to unwind. I was like, look, man, the one who's really uptight needs to unwind is you, and I don't think that thing is helping you. But it's that kind of. And these people are the ones who are into the whole live and let live. And it's like, man, I don't think you guys really, I don't think you really understand what live and let live means. And, and with these people who are coming in and calling us fascists, and it's for what? What is it that makes us such fascists? Because we say no, like, these people get heated about is it about the transgender thing? Is it about the gay marriage thing?
The so-called president of the United States called people who supported the former president of the United States semi-fascists. He's on the same boat, right? You have to demonize people, and the problem with conservatives, if you're a progressive, is generally speaking, we don't do a lot of demonic things. That's why you have to have these invented hate crimes like Jesse Smollett and all the rest of it. Somebody's got a noose on a made out of string. The noose is this big, but it's definitely, you have to invent hate crimes because there aren't any. And this is a big problem for them. So they have to keep throwing around these words that they don't understand the meaning of, and they don't want to understand the meaning of. A racist is someone who disagrees with you, and so is a fascist, right? By definition, the definition of a fascist now is somebody who disagrees with me. If you're a left-winger.
Yes.
I know what a fascist is, and I don't use that term lightly.
Right. And that is the thing that they have. Not only are they dyslexic about terms, I mean, they really do switch these things around. Everything is a switch around for them. Or like you said, they make these things up. And, applying terms like fascist or racist or whatever kind of ist or
Nazi,
all those kind of things. It's a projection. Not only are you making these things up about us, that is exactly who you are.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's when people like tell me that I'm transphobic. It's like, no, that is definitely a misappropriation of a word. I'm not afraid of them at all. Actually, I'd be more afraid for them than I would be for myself. They don't scare me, but I mean, it's such a misappropriated term, and the phobia really applies to them. I'm looking at this person who's a man and who has this irrational fear of his own penis. It's like, my penis, I got to cut this thing off and get rid of it and do something else with it. It's like, that seems phobic to me, or a person who's just so afraid of their own masculinity that they want to be something else, or just the reality of what they are. And they do this irrational thing to become something else. And they're trying to force other people to abide by their delusion. And then they turn around and say, well, they're not harming anybody. Well, lying to yourself is harmful. That's one. And then forcing other people to have to abide by that lie. That's harmful too. But in their mind, everything is switched around. They think that they're not doing any harm. And then what do you do with that? When you have people, I shouldn't even say convinced. People who are just in such a deep state of denial. What do you do with that when people just, this is what I believe and I'm sticking to it?
There are two more things that are in this mix. One of them is narcissism. If you just disagree with somebody, then you're just a guy who disagrees with somebody. But if you disagree with a Nazi, now you're a guy who fights Nazis, right? So, it's a way of inflating themselves. This is what all of these fake hate crimes are about, right? Why did Jussie Smollett do what he did? To inflate himself, right? It was an act of narcissism. It was just to get attention, really.
Right.
And the thing that goes along with that is, by calling your opponents Nazis and fascists, it's a fig leaf, because there are many people out there, and most of them are in Antifa, who just really like the idea of beating up people. Mm-hmm. They don't like the idea of a fair fight because they could get injured in a fair fight. But if there's 12 or 15 of them all and they're dressed in black and they got their balaclavas on, they got their black boots on, kicking the hell out of something really appeals to them. Now, kicking the hell out of an innocent person who's just trying to listen to some guy talking on campus, that kind of a bad guy. But if that guy's a Nazi, then curb stomping him is a virtue as far as they're concerned. So it is a fig leaf for people who want to be violent and are looking for an excuse to do it. And you find an awful lot about that kind of person when people fight back. Because when people fight back, or when they get arrested, those rare occasions when the law is enforced in that case, they curl up into the fetal position, start crying. So they're man babies. They're children. And that's probably a good way to think about them. They're children they're spoiled children. So they've gotten everything they wanted when they wanted it. They want to do whatever they want to do. If they want to write on the walls in crayons, then they can. And anybody who tries to stop them is evil. Mm-hmm. And all of the things that they want are childish things, right? Endless sex, endless drugs, endless alcohol, endless pleasure. And those are the kind of people who eventually become horrified to discover that if there is this gaping black hole inside you where your soul should be, it doesn't matter how much cocaine or women or whatever you shovel into that pit, you're never going to fill it up. And hearing this is disturbing to them. So off they go.
Indeed, man. And I'm a big proponent of, look, whatever you do is that's your life. You live it. And but the thing is, they don't seem to understand that the things that they want, it forces a cost on the other people. They do want other people to facilitate, their ideas and their worldview. And they do not assume responsibility for those things for themselves, y'all. They'll keep telling them what we do is our business. But that's not true. They want to make everything that they do somebody else's business. And the objective of any business is to grow. So they'll try to tell you that we're not trying to recruit anybody. Oh, that's not true. And that, once again, folks, lying to themselves.
Yeah, that's it.
They're constantly lying to themselves, and they want to drag us into their lie, and they're constantly trying to tell us there's no harm in what they're doing. It's okay. And man, that's famous, last words of the devil. The devil's like the same thing, man. Oh, there's no harm in that. Yeah, they're not. Right?
Yeah.
So, and then you get suckered into thinking, yeah, it's fine. My eyes will be open and all that sort of stuff. And, And unfortunately, your eyes get too open, too wide, and you find yourself staring at the sun and you go blind. All right. So, and that's what these people want you to do. They want you to see the light, but they want your eyes wide open to take in a whole bunch of light to where you can't really see what's going on, folks.
Yeah. There's a special kind of a mental illness. It's a special form of narcissism among performers like actors or musicians, right? They want to do all kinds of things. They want to do whatever they want to. And much of the time, those are pretty base. But they also need to be adored, right? They need it. It's a requirement for them to be in the spotlight. They have to be adored. That's part of the black hole where their soul should be. And so now they have to come up with a mechanism for them to do whatever they want to, which could include some pretty appalling things, as you mentioned, the lyrics in that Nine Inch Nails song, right? That's what you want to do. That's not what she wants to do, right? But you want to be adored on top of it. So you got to think of some way around this. So you just invent this fictional enemy called the conservatives or the fascists or this or that, and you go on your merry way. You get to have your cake and eat it too. But the problem is that for them is that there are consequences to their actions. And if you really think it over, if you are one of those people with this gigantic hole and you're constantly looking for approval, either through the applause of people in an audience or the groupies that are knocking on your door or the amount of cocaine you can shovel into your nose or whatever, right? Those people exist at all kinds of different levels in the celebrity food chain, but there's got to be nothing worse than being successful enough so that you can fulfill all of those lusts, right? You can have all the women you want. You can have all the drugs you want. You can do whatever you want to. You've got the cars you want. Imagine how horrible it's got to be for those people to have all of the things that they always thought would make them whole. Well, now you finally got it, right? And you're still this nothing. You're still this nothing. And now where do you go? It was always, when I'm rich and famous. Well, you are rich and famous now. Now you can have everything that you want. Everything you want, you're getting. And you still feel like a gigantic negative space. Well, you either keep up in the volume, get further and further and further out into perversions and increase the dosage, basically, right? Until you either OD or you realize that there's nothing here, and that rarely happens, but occasionally it does. You realize that if I keep upping the dosage, I'm going to die. Upping the dosage is not solving the problem. Solving the problem is going in the exact opposite direction, is having humility beaten into you. And I don't suspect that either Jack White or Trent Reznor are nearly close enough to their bottom yet to have that decision to make.
Indeed, man. And it talk about an actual demonstration of greed. That's what it is. Right? Is they keep, pursuing these accesses and
it's gluttony, really.
Yeah. And
more. More.
These people, they really are greedy. And even if it's the high of thinking that they're morally superior and looking at us as if we're the fascists, and the addiction of just making up things to call other people to make yourself feel better about yourselves. That's a lot of what we're up against, folks.
Yeah. You know how much cocaine the average drug user does?
No.
All of it.
I do cocaine so I can work longer, so I can make
all
more
of
money.
I do all of it, right?
Yeah.
That's what an addiction is. Yeah.
Yes.
It owns you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, folks, speaking of Twitter, and if these people aren't going to be there, I guess that is their contribution to society, to humanity, is being absent. Don't read too deep into that, but if they're going to step off Twitter, they just help to make Twitter a better place. And which means that you have more opportunity and more space to share this video on places like Twitter, and maybe others will get the message.
Turn the corner. Yeah,
absolutely.
Nice.
That's so. Work those share buttons. Share it on the Twitter. Share it on the Facebook, and all that other good stuff. And we hope that you come on over to BillWhittle.com. If you're not a member already, become a member and support us with what we're trying to do, because we're trying to set the record straight on what actual virtue is. Dang it! All right, y'all.
Dang.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.